Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. Peace talks continue in the hope of bringing a ceasefire in the war in Gaza. According to Reuters, the Israeli delegation at the Doha ceasefire talks would be heading back to Israel tonight. Additionally, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are expected to meet in person on Monday. What expectations can we have that a sustainable peace is possible in Gaza as a result of these talks? Well, to explore that and related issues, I'm joined by Frank Musmar, a Middle East expert. Welcome, sir, to TV World, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, how are you?
All right, thank you. Now, tell me, what do we expect from these talks? What's going to be different about them, if anything?
Well, actually, this time is a little bit more different because each one of the parts that are involved in that discussion has maybe different agenda. The United States, like we are now going and heading into the election, and it's very important now for the new government, especially like with a new phase that they are trying to prepare Kamala. So it's good to score a few points here and there. So it's good for the United States to score the deal. Now, for the parties, Egypt is trying just to hold and contain the situation, so it's not going to be expanded as a regional war and reach its borders. For Qatar, it's been for a long time hosting the leaders of Hamas. For Israel and Iran is just like trying to test potential retaliations between both Iran through Hamas, which is Hamas, a proxy of Iran. And if you notice, like so far, Iran never retaliated yet. So everybody's saying that Iran's waiting for these kind of delegations and kind of discussions about ceasefire. So basically, there is so many parts here involved, and everyone is looking for something. So, we'll see what will happen.
Indeed they are. But, when you're talking about what's happening on the ground, it looks as though Israel's holding all the cards. If they don't want a ceasefire, they won't stop fighting. And they've stated their goals very clearly, the release of the hostages and the end of Hamas. Would they be prepared to give those goals up for a ceasefire?
Well, like everybody laid his cards. Like Israel said, there is conditions to stop the war, and I think it's kind of fair conditions because they want to be sure that Hamas is not going to be able to be the old Hamas, and then they wants to see how they're going to control the borders and the movements inside or within Gaza Strip. And in the meantime, for Hamas to be out of the picture. So actually, one of the conditions was even for prisoners that Hamas is requesting for release, like for those people to be deported from even Gaza or from even Israel. So basically, like Israel is trying to contain the situation that is not going to escalate again. And if you look at this particular conflict that happens between Gaza and Israel, it's not like whatever happened before. Most likely, Iran is all the way behind it because Hamas, they were very conservative in their retaliations before against Israel. Now, it's the first time that Hamas went, out of the blue and just went, with totally support of Iran. So basically, Israel is trying just to contain the situation after the ceasefire. It's not like the ceasefire because I believe that Hamas is already over. I don't think Hamas is gonna exist like before. It's just like a few political figures and few whatever left over on the ground. So basically, Israel is aware of that, and that's what the IDF announced yesterday, that they could even pull out. So the idea is, if we're going to do a ceasefire, what's going to happen after the ceasefire?
Understood. Well, you mentioned Israel, I beg your pardon, Iran a couple of times. Now, Iran is using not only Hamas as a proxy, but Hezbollah in Lebanon as well. Do you think there's going to be, and Lebanon has been attacking, Hezbollah has been attacking Israel for weeks now, again. with rocket fire. Do you think the ceasefire is going to have any implications for that?
Well, if you allow me just for a second, if you go back to the Hamas and the new, let's say, attack of Iron Dome of Hamas, it was like by the time that United States was trying to normalize with Saudi Arabia. The entire problem that happened in this area is after the Abraham Accords, because the Abraham Accords gained momentum in the area. And then the last big piece of cake was Saudi Arabia. And if that happened, Iran will lose its position and playing, let's say, the scary country in the area. So lose ground big time. So for Hamas, as a proxy of Iran, and we know that, even the leader of Hamas died in Iran. So Hamas applied the strategy of Iran to stop the momentum that was going in the area, which is way against the will of Iran and the position and strategic planning of Iran. So basically, Iran was using Hamas, and most likely they promised Hamas to support him and to be on their side, which is actually they never did. They just from day one they said that they are not involved in that. Now this is one proxy out, so the second proxy will be Hezbollah most likely. And if things doesn't go with Iran's will, they might use Houthis against Saudi Arabia again. So the idea is they are trying to stop any momentum that doesn't go well with their strategy in the Middle East, because a normalization between Sunni Arabs and Israel, this means Iran is out of picture. So Iran is going to do its best to stop that at any given time.
Indeed it is. Is it time then, do you think, for the other nations in the Middle East, I'm talking mainly about Saudi, but others also, to actually take a stand against Iran's behaviour in the region to disrupt the peace process?
Well, definitely at a certain point, if you want my opinion, like the United States is going to use their allies, like the Arabs, the Sunni Arabs, against the proxies of Iran, and maybe later on, maybe it will be like a direct confrontation between the United States and Iran, because the biggest problem now is the proxies of Iran and Iran itself. So why United States now, especially because we have an election time, why they are trying not to go with a full confrontation with Iran, because they don't want to expand the war, and they knows that if Iran uses its proxies, especially the militias in Iraq and Syria, against American soldiers, this means the United States has to interfere. And the point is, like, United States now, maybe from now until the election, they're trying just to play diplomacy. But after that, I think, whether being, Biden and now, let's say, Kamala's ticket or Donald Trump, it doesn't matter. So after the election, I think will be like the concentration of going back to the momentum of peace in the Middle East. And this means that all those countries has to take roles on it, because United States and Israel is not going to be the one that taking all that lead against all those proxies and Iran itself. Iran, if you see that, it's trying to avoid as much as it can the confrontation with Iran land as itself. But in the meantime, they are way at the pressure of the internal pressure of Iran, which is now they don't look good in front of their people. It shows that the United States or Israel can kill anyone, can reach any person. Like even their mullahs are not safe. So the point is, Iran is going to try first to delay the momentum of any peace strategies and let's say momentum in the Middle East. They're going to use their proxies. United States is not going to be able now, or they're going to try to be very conservative of opening a full confrontation against Iran. So we're talking about, if we're going to see like an actual good results on the ground, I would say between 6 and 8 months, we're going to start seeing something like legit. But for now, it's going to be just back and forth things, just like what we see. I think once the time, which is with the pressure of the United States, that we will have sort of ceasefire, and definitely we will have. I think Iran is going to use mobile Hezbollah.
Yeah, well, do you think then that if Donald Trump were to come into power again, that he would try and reinstate the Abraham Accords? And What do you think Iran's response might be to that?
Well, Abraham Accord never died, but the point is, each government has different strategy of approaching it. At the beginning, there was like a little bit clashes between Bin Salman of Saudi Arabia and Biden, because at the beginning, Biden was going a little bit way out of norm, against Bin Salman, especially with the Khashoggi case, and then kind of things smoothed down. So the point is, like, the policies of the now democratic government is kind of delayed it a little bit, but it didn't die. Now, maybe the good relationship between Netanyahu and Trump, between Bin Salman and Trump, that will expedite the process a little bit. But I'm not saying that it's going to start from zero. It's just going to keep going. And now it's going, because there is actually, few delegations and few discussions, based on the points, final points on agreements between both parties. And one of them, of course, is the Palestinian cause. And that's why Iran kind of inflamed the Palestinian cause by, Hamas attack. And because that, playing the emotions in the area. So Iran was trying just to delay it and kind of squeeze Saudi Arabia not to move a little bit forward by flaming the emotions in the area, which is actually, is very important, because, the entire area is Muslim, and most of them has drama and previous wars like, Jordan and Egypt with Israel. So Saudi Arabia was hesitant here, and that delayed the process. Now, it didn't stop. It was like delayed because of Biden policies, because of Iran. And now I think maybe a person like Trump, with well-known character, that he's been more firm and willing to attack fast. So I think he will maybe put different stones here in the way of Iran, and maybe you will feel the momentum is going fast, but it's still going, but maybe it'll be faster during Trump's time.
Well, it certainly seems to be walking forward very slowly, has been for the last couple of years. But yes, let's see what happens. Now, going back to Israel, the hostages, Prime Minister Netanyahu is facing a lot of pressure, both inside the country and from outside the country, about the release of the hostages. What do we know about that situation, and how do you think Hamas are going to use them as a bargaining chip?
No, Hamas cannot use them anymore. Hamas is out. Hamas is out of picture. Hamas is just playing now, let's say in a spare time or whatever time left. The hostage is one of the main conditions from the United States itself, not just from Netanyahu government or from Israel. So this is one of the things that it's going to happen. The main conflict here and the delays on those ceasefires negotiation is what's going to happen after, because Hamas is trying to find a position for itself. Israel doesn't want Hamas anymore. And actually, even the entire area cannot deal with Hamas anymore. So most likely people is trying to think that they might be just, a refuge political party outside Gaza or outside what is called Palestine. So basically, it's not the refugee itself. The refugee is going to be released from day one, because this is like one of the base keystone of the negotiations. But the idea is, Israel is asking just a little bit, few things here that Hamas saying that it's extreme, which is controlling the borders, controlling the crossing borders, like Philadelphia crossing points, Rafah crossing points, more checkpoints between the south and the north, which is like all of it is limitation for the power of Hamas and the control of Hamas of Gaza. But it's not really over the subject of the refugees at all.
Understood. OK, well, Mr. Musmar, thank you very, very much for coming along and giving us your analysis. I'm sure that you'll be keeping a close eye on it and bringing us up to date as things change. Have a good day. Bye-bye now. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that's all from us on this episode of World Talks. Don't go away. As always, lots more coming up.